Welcome War Robots fans, this is Cinco, and in this video I'm going to give you my breakdown of the Overdrive unit. There's been an insane amount of content posted to YouTube in recent weeks with outrageous damage bonuses, and I'm going to break down the realistic math behind the Overdrive unit. I'm also going to compare it to the meta modules now and break down the costs and let you decide if it's worth it. At the end of the video I'm going to give you some basic tips on how to maximize your Overdrive unit, so stick around. Okay, let's get to it. Let's get a few quick assumptions out of the way. We're not going to consider pilot skill damage modifiers at all during this video. They're completely independent from modules, so we're going to exclude them. We're also not going to consider game boosters that you or your teammates are running, and we're also going to assume all modules are fully maxed out. If you found yourself watching this video, you probably already know what an Overdrive unit is, but if you don't, it's a recently released premium bot module. The unit increases the damage output by the bot 25% when your health drops below a threshold, starting at 50% for one unit. As you add more units, not only does the 25% damage modifier stack, but it also increases the threshold from 60 then to 70% as you add a second and third unit. This makes running more than one more effective. So how do you get Overdrive unit modules? At the time of this video, you can only get the Overdrive unit in the coin game, and based on my personal experience, it's around 70-100 coin spins, it drops less than 2% of the time, so it's pretty hard to get along the lines of the Poe Pilot or the Ivory Ravana. After the coin game ends, I expect it to be offered for sale for 5,000 gold, just like the other current premium modules. As you can see here in the top left of the UI, there are little triangles above and below the health bar indicator. When the health is to the right of this indicator, you get no damage modifier. When it's to the left, you get 25% damage modifier. If your health dips below the indicator and then goes back above the indicator, you lose a damage modifier. Once your health drops below the indicator again, the modifier again becomes active. Before we get too far into this, I wanted to give you a rundown of the current meta modules since we'll be comparing Overdrive to these. These are the typical combinations you'll see in higher leagues. There are more, but I didn't list all the ones that you'll see in top leagues. Almost 100% of top players are running Last Stand on all their bots. It's really rare not to see a top player running Last Stand. It's also important to note that it's rare to see top players running 3 thermonuclear reactors or 3 heavy armors, except in very specific tanking and sniping builds. First, let's compare the damage output against other damage boosting modules. I base the damage on 1 million average damage per game for the entire hangar to make the math easy. So if you do 2 million damage per game, just multiply all the damage output by 2. As you can see here, the full game damage output if you had all max Overdrive units is about 23% more than if you were to run 3 thermo nukes. Remember though, I said it's rare to run 3 thermo nukes because of Last Stand. It's also almost 70% more than base damage, which is what many YouTubers are using to baseline their damage to give those outrageous numbers that are posted in the titles of their videos. In that last graphic, we weren't factoring in managing your health. That calculation was based on 30% of the time getting no damage modifier and 70% of the game getting damage modifier. Here I wanted to show just how much of an impact the management of your health has when it comes to Overdrive units. It's a really big deal. If you can manage to have your Overdrive unit active 90% of the time, you're looking at major gains. Conversely, if you're not very good at managing your health, you're not going to get much better outcome than if you had 3 max thermo nukes. After noticing how important it is to have good health management, I wanted to expand and compare that to other premium module combinations. I know that's a lot of numbers to look at, but you can see on the left that if you're not managing your health well, then the Overdrive units really aren't helping you that much. What really matters here is the differences in configurations in the green highlighted stuff versus the red highlighted stuff. As I said earlier, most top hangars are only running 1 or 2 thermo nukes. That means these ones in green are the meta builds. If you want those bigger damage numbers, you're going to have to sacrifice Last Stand. Last Stand is clearly an extremely high value module, and it'll be interesting to see how many players are willing to part with it. You can also see here that 3 thermo nukes do nearly as good of a job if you're willing to sacrifice Last Stand and you're not that great at managing your health. If you've made it this far and are willing to sacrifice your anti-control modules and your Last Stands, then here's what you can expect in terms of damage. If you're going to go from 2 thermo nukes to full Overdrive, you're looking at gains between 19 and 50% over the 2 thermo nukes. If you run 1 thermo nuke and go to full Overdrive, the gains are likely going to be between 32 and 66% over your current build. So after watching all this, you're sold and you want to go all in on Overdrive. What's it going to cost? Well, there's 15 modules across the 5 bots at 5,000 gold apiece. That's 75,000 gold. If you want to upgrade, you're looking at 90 upgrades across the bots at 40 million silver apiece, which adds up to a massive 3.6 billion silver. If you buy everything, you're looking at about $10,000 for the 1.4 million gold that's going to be required, or you can grind out the silver for about 360 hours and add on another $536-ish. There's a potential gain of 19 to 66% more damage, which is pretty significant. I mean, I've seen people pay 7,500 gold for an extra 2.5% damage in a pilot skill. No last stand and no anti-control is pretty hard to part with. It'll be interesting to see how the community embraces or doesn't embrace 3 overdrive units based on this. After all this overdrive math, I started to think about Titans and how these are pretty good to do damage against Titans, but Titans are still really important in the current meta, and I think I would definitely rather invest money in my Titans before I would invest in overdrive. Is it worth it? I'll let you decide. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this in the comments section of this video. As I mentioned earlier, I'd have some overdrive tips at the end, so here they are. Number 1, unless you have 2 or more, they aren't really worth it, especially if you have premium modules already maxed out. Number 2, play your bots more aggressively earlier in their life to get your health just under where the overdrive activator is. That way you can really manage your health well and keep your bot's health under the activation threshold. Number 3, use overdrive on your tank bots first. It's a lot easier to manage health on tankier bots, and you'll have a lot more health under the threshold and maximize your damage. Number 4, use your special ability defensively, especially after the overdrive indicator has been activated. It's really important when you have overdrive to use your special ability and active modules, as they are your best tools for managing your health. And number 5, try to fight 1 target at a time. This seems pretty basic, but without last stand or anti-control, you could be taking huge amounts of damage quickly and or get locked down and not have last stand or anti-control to bail you out of trouble. Well, that wraps up this video. If you like the video, please consider liking and or subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I definitely would like to hear from you what your experience is on Overdrive so far and if you think it's worth it. Thanks for watching.